Dear Grade 12 in Qatar Technical School, hello and welcome to a new English lesson. Our lesson for today is from Unit 3, Events, and this is the first part of Lesson 1, Conditions. So please go to your course books, page 20, and let's get started. Our learning objectives for today are the following. Number 1, to use new vocabulary about aerospace and mechanics. Number 2, to complete a text through listening to a radio news report from the future about a new safety system. And number 3, to revise and practice the present perfect simple versus the past simple. Dear students, let's begin with the first objective, which is about the vocabulary in this lesson. So please go to your course book, page 20, and let's have a look at the most important words. The first word is launch abort system. Then we have crew. The third word for today is crew capsule. Number 4, spacecraft. Next, launch. The next, land. Before the last, crash. And the last one, sink. Now let's have a look at the meanings of the phrases or the words. First one, launch abort system is a crew safety system connected to a space capsule used to quickly separate the capsule from its launch vehicle rocket in case of a launch abort emergency. Crew is a group of persons involved in a particular kind of work or working together. Crew capsule is a cabin where the crew stays in during their journey into space. Spacecraft is a vehicle designed for travel or operation in space beyond the Earth's atmosphere or in orbit around the Earth. Launch means to send forth or to release. Land means to fly down back to the ground. Crash means to damage an airplane in landing. And finally, we have the word sink, which means to go down into water. Dear students, let's now do the following exercise. What you have to do is to match the pictures from 1 to 8 with their titles in the table. What you have to do is to pause the video and try to match them correctly. Then you can come back and check your answers. Thank you. Now you can check your answers. Launch abort system is matched with this picture. Crew capsule, spacecraft, launch, land, crash, and sink. Well done. Now let's move to the second objective in our lesson for today, which is listening. So we have to listen to this radio news report from the year 2020 and answer the questions.
Unit 3, Events, Recording 7.
This is the 6 o'clock news for today, the 14th of April, 2020. First, the news in brief. The new Ares moon rocket has failed to launch. The rocket has crashed into the Indian Ocean. The crew capsule containing the 6 astronauts has landed safely in the ocean. Rescue helicopters have taken the astronauts to hospital, where they are recovering. The director of the space program has resigned. Now the news in detail. 6 astronauts escaped death early this morning when their Orion crew capsule detached itself safely from their Ares space rocket. The Ares rocket was launched at 5:05 this morning, but after only a few seconds, it was obvious that something was seriously wrong. At first, the rocket flew straight upwards, but then it turned and moved almost horizontally before starting to fall back towards Earth. The rocket then crashed into the ocean and disappeared from sight. For more details about the ejection system on the Ares rocket, we can now turn to our technology correspondent, Jeff Walker, who is at the recovery site.
Luckily for the crew, the Ares rocket was fitted with the new launch abort system. If anything goes wrong within the first 100,000 meters of the rocket's ascent, the launch abort system, or LAS, is activated and carries the crew capsule away to safety, just like the ejection seat system in an aeroplane. The LAS is at the nose, or tip, of the rocket and contains an abort engine and a supply of solid fuel. It is attached to the crew capsule. As soon as the launch failed and the Ares rocket changed course, the LAS was automatically activated. The abort engine fired with a massive 180,000 kilograms of thrust, and the LAS, attached to the Orion crew capsule, was ejected and shot upwards at high speed and away from the rocket. It reached a speed of 725 kilometers per hour in less than 3 seconds. When the solid fuel burnt out, the crew capsule detached itself from the LAS. 3 sets of parachutes then opened up, and the crew capsule floated down and landed safely in the ocean. Helicopters reached the capsule within a few minutes and took the 6 astronauts to hospital at their base to recover. All 6 are well and in good spirits. Sarah.
Thanks, Jeff.
Dear students, you can now check your answers. The first question was, what is the purpose of the LAS? The answer is to eject the crew capsule from the rocket if something goes wrong in the first 100,000 meters of the ascent. The second question was, what happens to the crew capsule after the LAS is activated? And the answer is, the capsule is ejected from the rocket. Dear students, I want you now to go back to the listening part and listen again in order to complete the first part of the news report using the correct form of the verbs in brackets. You can listen, pause, and then do the exercise. Now, let's check your answers. The first one, we have the verb has failed. The second one, has crashed. The third one, has landed. Now the second part, we have escaped. Number 5, detached. And the last one was launched. Now it's time to move to our third objective in our lesson for today, which is grammar. In this lesson, we are supposed to know the difference between the present perfect and the past simple. So let's read the following examples. The first example, the Ares rocket has crashed. Now in this sentence, do we know the time of the action? No, we don't. It is not mentioned. So we used the form has crashed. which refers to the present perfect. While in the second example, the Ares rocket crashed early this morning. Now, which verb is used here? Very good. The verb crashed, which is the past simple form of the verb. Now, the second question, is the time mentioned? Yes, it is mentioned, and it is in the past, early this morning. This is why we use the verb in the past form. Now, we have two more examples. So, which verbs in number 4 are A, present perfect, B, past simple, and we have to say why. Let's read the example. An oil rig in the Red Sea burned down. Now, in this sentence, do we know the time of the action? The answer is no, we don't. So, we have to use the present perfect tense. And in this case, we have to use has plus the past participle form of the verb burn. So the answer is has burnt down, which is the present perfect tense. In the second sentence, the Victory rig catch fire yesterday. As you can see, the time is mentioned and the time is in the past, yesterday. So the verb catch is changed into the past form, which is caught. In the second part, and collapse early this morning, also the time is mentioned, which is early this morning. It refers to the past. So we change the verb collapse into collapsed, and this is the past simple tense. Now let's talk in detail about the present perfect simple. The rule, we need a subject. Sometimes the subject is a noun, other times it's a pronoun. If the subject is singular, so we use has, and if it is plural, we use have, and always we have to use the past participle form of the verb. Example number 1, Ali has traveled to California. Ali is the subject, singular, so we used has. Then we use the past participle form of the verb travel, which is traveled. Example number 2, we haven't met since 2018. So the subject is the pronoun we, which is plural, and so we use have or haven't. Then the past participle form of the verb met. Now, the following are the key words that may help you find the present perfect simple. We have the words since, for, already, yet, once, twice, just, so far, ever, never, and so on. Now we use the present perfect simple in the following ways. If the time of the action is not mentioned, we don't know when it happened. Number 2, if the action happened in the past, but its evidence is still there. What about the past simple verb? Now let's have a look at the rule. We need a subject, whether it is singular or a plural, it doesn't matter. It should be followed by past simple verb. Example, Ali traveled to California last year. Another example, he met his best friend yesterday. Now the following keywords are the most commonly used that can help you find the past simple. Yesterday, last week, last month, last year, and so on. In 2018 or any year in the past. The word ago, early this morning, and so on. Now, we use the past simple if the time of the action happened and ended in the past. Dear students, it's time now to check your understanding of the lesson. So what you have to do is to do exercise number 5 from page 20. What you have to do is to complete the radio news stories in the same way as in the news story in number 3. So you can pause the video before you go back and check your answers. Okay, let's now check your answers. Have landed, touched, have collided, flew, has struck, has sunk, ran, sank, has burnt, caught, and finally collapsed. Dear students, that's all for today. I hope that you enjoyed your lesson. Please log on to your Microsoft Teams account and do the quiz. And remember that you have 24 hours to submit your answers. That's all for today. Goodbye.